Good afternoon to ladies and gentlemen, students, parents, and also, as I keep on referring to, our small webinar family. Why do I say this? Because yes, we have created a family of our own, regular attendees who are attending all our webinars right from the moment we started. And they have been so good to us that they have been sending us beautiful messages, emails, etc., acknowledging whatever we do. Whatever time we keep the webinar, even if it's in the morning, even if it's in the late evening when the Vice Chancellor calls dignitaries from all around India and even from around the globe, they are regular attendees who come and grace and give us company during this lockdown period. And we are not even talking to our neighbors. They have kind of become our own family. And that's why I said welcome to our family. So again, continuing with the same session, we are here. But on insistence, I would want to read out two messages which were sent to us, very beautiful messages which were sent to us. One is from Mahalakshmi Belandri. She's from Bangalore. She sent me a message where she said, thanks for all these webinars. During lockdown, they have provided me with the feel of reading some books, which gave me so much knowledge that I have made notes of it. And I feel I'm upgraded, and I keep on discussing all the topics that you guys keep on discussing with my friends, and we have a different level of talks which we talk no more COVID. And whenever at the end of the session, when Deepu Krishna sir says humanity will triumph, it gives me much needed motivation during this COVID era. Thank you so much, Mahalakshmi. It really, really meant a lot. Similarly, Ayush Gupta from Indore said, I'm so much now sure that I've taken the right choice about law school after attending all these webinars. The topic really interests me, and I feel motivated that I will become what you told in your webinar as lawman and not layman. Ayush, these are those few things because of which we become teachers. Most of the faculties which we have are teachers by choice, they're not by accident, and that's what makes Jindal. So whenever someone comes and asks me what makes Jindal, I say there are two things. One is our faculty, they're all world class. Second is our own dear students, and that's the kind of an aura, and that's the kind of a teaching which you see, and the kind of interaction which you see, which happens in Jindal Global Law School. And that has what made us the #1 law school in India by QS rankings. And thank you for all these messages. No doubt about it. We also get messages like what Carrie Minati did to TikTok. There are people who rip us apart by saying, so many webinars, what are you doing? But then I have a question to you. You have a choice not to attend also, right? So all those people who are attending regularly, thank you so much for your support. Today, the session is quite special. The session and the topic is also very interesting, as most of you might have seen. And the person who's delivering it is also very special. He's one of our best faculties around. He's one of the most loved faculties in our law school. And he's someone who would again induce more and more students, not just to think about law, but also beyond it. And he's going to discuss about two concepts, which are the most important in current times also, and also when a law student takes up law. And what are those two dynamics? Law and justice. And we could not find a better name than Professor Amit Bindal, who could come and enlighten students and all our attendees about this topic. So I take this opportunity to welcome Professor Amit Bindal. Amit sir, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Krishna. Yeah. Thank you for this.
So before sir starts a small rule which I often lay down during our webinars. So sir would be delivering this lecture. If you have questions, you know what is the drill. For newcomers who don't know how the drill goes on, there is a question bar on your screen which you can see. You can come there and type your questions. I'll be at the backstage. Admission related queries, I'll be answering it at the backstage there and there itself. Any question which is related to the topic, I would moderate the session at the end of it, post the lecture ends. So I'll come and take the questions and give it to sir, who will be answering. Okay, that's the modus operandi, or that's how exactly we go ahead with the session. So now over to you, Amit sir. It's all your session.
Just and then one question, if I can also ask, what is the time that you think I should be talking for?
It's a 1 hour session, 5 to 6. Okay. We can stretch it to 6:30 also. Yeah.
Great. No, I'll try to make it shorter. Right, yeah.
The session is yours. Great.
Thank you so much. And how do I welcome you all? whoever is there listening to this webinar, which is a difficult thing for me to understand in the new times, new things. Let me give you a sense of what I thought I should be talking to, and the and please, I mean, as Mr. Krishna has told you that he will be, you can type in whatever comes to your mind. You don't have to wait till the end of it. So type in, and also if I'm not audible to you, you should type in that as well, so that then it's a time that I should be interrupted. But just to give you a sense of what I thought, I am given to understand that largely, predominantly, the people I'm talking to are those who are thinking of taking law as a career, I mean, thinking of joining the law school, and also like largely students who have graduated from their +2. So, I wanted to pick up this topic of the relationship between law and justice, which I will try to introduce to you. That what I want to discuss. But just to give you a broad idea of what you will be listening to in the next sort of 50 minutes or 1 hour, so that you may decide that you want to put in your time or not. That what I'll try to do is I will try to question the very obvious and conventional understanding that we think we have on law and justice, about law and justice. And don't worry, I mean, I'm not presuming. I'm not presuming that people have any sense of these two terms, but I would assume that these are two words that we use more or less in our vocabulary, whether we are talking to anybody. Are we following the law? Justice is done or not done. This is just. This is unjust. I mean, this is a loose vocabulary that we follow. And I always, whenever I teach, I generally say that one thing which generally happens with all of us is that when we use words a lot, then we generally end up misunderstanding or confusing memory with understanding. So something which is memorized, we generally think that is also understood. And that happens most often to words, ideas, which we hear all the time. Whether they, I mean, even as broad as ideas as friendship and love and etc. You would feel that we all presume that we all presume that. Okay, so I can hear people. I would request everybody to just if they can mute their mics so that unfortunately you hear only me and instead of the other way around for at least an hour, after which you can talk. So, so I was saying that this is true for a lot of ideas and very often true for law and justice. So that's what I'll try to do. Because along with talking about something, I mean, so something like law and justice is an idea that you can talk even if you are a 12th grade student, and I'm sure about it because this is an idea that you talk and you discuss amongst your friends. So let me try to bring in some popular conceptions and misconceptions about, or when we use the words like law and justice. The most general way we think of law and justice is that, I mean, and that's what is like we are being fed on. That's what we hear, whatever we read. So we are generally told that law is something which is the means to attain the end, which is justice. So in other words, if you follow the law, then justice will happen. I mean, as you must have heard that do your duty and everything will be right. If everyone does their duty, then no one shall fear harm, as William Blake would say in his lovely little poem called The Chimney Sweeper. So the idea that if we do our duty, if we follow the rules, if we follow the laws, then right things will happen. I mean, that's something which is, yeah, and that's something which is true, and that's something which is a truism, which is something, and the difference between true and truism is that it's true. I mean, we generally believe it to be true. And when something becomes a truism, then it becomes that we stop thinking. We stop even questioning something so basic as, yeah, I mean, you have to do everyone should do their duty. So you would never question something as simple like that. Okay, so if you see my title, so that's what I'll try to do, and in the end, I will try to also push you, and because I'm thinking that predominantly people are the younger upcoming law students in the making, and also if they are not so younger. I mean, it's not just the age of the body that determines our youth. So even others, I would like to push them to why it is extremely important for us to read, why it is extremely important for us to think, which, believe you me, and I hope I'll be able to convince you by the end of this discussion, which we have stopped doing, which we have stopped doing as individuals, which we have stopped doing as a culture, which we have stopped doing completely. Although obviously we pretend to know. I mean, so there are books that how you can talk about things, which you haven't read. So obviously that these are the kind of things we are experts in as a culture, that I want to talk about everything. Who cares to read things? I mean, no need to read if I can talk about it smartly. So we are smart people, not honest. We are people who can speak for getting marks of participation, not because we are compelled to speak. So there's a shift which has happened in us. Okay, so that's what I'll try to address by the end of it. That why we need to go back to the times when people would think that reading is important, even when they are not teachers. So I mean, of course, I can read because that's my problem. I'm teaching, but even those who were not teachers, who were activists, who were people, into constitution making or politics, they would read and read a lot. Okay, so that's how I would try to push you to end. But to begin, so I ought to begin with the title. Why? Because I am sure that some of you who might have seen the title, and I have no pretensions about it or doubts about it, you must have thought that what kind of a pretentious and absurd title is this? Okay, where I am not just saying something which sounds a bit counterintuitive by calling the talk as impossible relationship between law and justice, because in the ordinary common sense we would think that law and justice is the most possible relationship. Okay, if the only relationship we think is between, if we think of the terms law and justice, then we think obviously they are related. So why am I calling it impossible? And then why am I very pretentiously putting a bracket in the I am? Okay, and so don't worry, I'm not going to give you the cliches, which is what I am scared of and I fear. I'm not going to give you the cliche that, oh yeah, there's a possible in the word impossible. No, I'm not going to offer you any such pseudo positive philosophy. Rather, I would try to discuss that actually the relationship between law and justice, and I would rather, I would provoke you to think on your own. All relationships, I would say, okay, but I am focusing on law and justice, but all of them are in some ways not so, are in some ways impossible. Okay, but we somehow make the impossible possible. Okay, and why not? This can be a long discussion. Okay, especially if we talk about interpersonal relationship. This can be a long discussion if we talk about our relationship between individual and state, citizen and state. That will become constitutional law. If we are talking about interpersonal relationship, that becomes a discussion on psychoanalysis, that becomes a discussion on our everyday talk. Okay, but I am obviously limiting myself to the relationship between law and justice, and I would like to argue, because I should have an argument to you if you are hearing me for 40-50 minutes. I would like to argue that law and justice are two ideas which don't which are not a happy marriage. I mean, which is not a happy relation. Okay, but nevertheless they need to be, like, we need to make this impossible relation possible as a necessity. What do I mean by that? I mean that if we discount law for justice, justice is great, who cares of the law? Or if we discount justice and focus on law, and you would find people of both dimensions all the time, not just in law school but even in cinema. Okay, who would either focus on law, that laws are very important, laws are extremely important, or, and you will find people who would say, who cares about the law? The idea of law is to get justice, that's what matters. Okay, I would like to argue that both of this kind of thinking, so are crippled, okay, and which is why we need to, despite this impossibility, make this relationship possible, okay, or maybe a struggle with this relationship, okay, like we struggle with all relationships. This is the kind of argument I would like to make in this in this seminar. So I will begin very basically, I mean, at very small basics about the idea of justice before I come to these difficult questions. And I thought I really liked, and I would like to recommend some of you who are interested in reading and becoming interested in reading, that you can pick up this book, which is also available freely online, called The Idea of Justice, long back written by Amartya Sen. Okay, long back written by Amartya Sen when he was too popular. I mean, he was this Nobel laureate and all great, and he wrote something on justice. So he's largely, you know, an economist, but he wrote this treatise on justice. So this was a very famous book, and I will pick up a very small illustration he takes in the preface to this book, okay, and which I would recommend that you may read, and you may write, you may email me if you want. I'll send you that preface if in case you don't find that. And because I like to start there, I would like to start from that point because it's a very simple idea. There are three children who are trying to answer the question that who should get the flute. Okay, so there is a flute, which is, there's one flute we have, and there are three contenders, all three little children, and they are all arguing, at least that's how Amartya Sen is imagining, that they're all arguing, this is my flute, this is my reason, this is my flute, this is my reason. Okay, and Sen is making this very simple illustration to make a extremely profound point, which is that it is not easy or simple to say this is justice or this is a just thing. Okay, so he's basically saying what I'm trying to do today, that just being just is not so easy as we imagine. We generally think I know what is right, I know what is just. Sen is saying it's a bit complicated. So let me take you to my slides, and let us go there with Sen before I come to three interesting questions for you. So that's the title. I take you to Three Children and Flute and Illustration. Okay, so this is from that book. Sen argues that, and this is the point that he's trying to make, that the idea of justice is both plural and competing. Okay, so when you are talking about justice, it can be plurality of opinions. Okay, which, I mean, if you speak in a fashionable language which you guys use today, then you would say it's subjective, but well, that's a bad word, that's a cliche. Okay, but the idea is different people can differently, competingly give reasons about what is a just thing. That's what is a better way to put it. Okay, then comes the illustration. Which of the three children, Anne, Bob, and Carla, should get the flute about which they are quarreling? Okay, it's a small session, so please don't ask me that why Anne, Bob, and Carla. I mean, why all anglicized names? I mean, that question should be addressed to Amartya Sen, but that's how it is, because I thought that if we're talking of flute, then Krishna should also be talked about for sure. But anyways, okay, let's go on. So these are three kids who are trying to fight for the flute. What are their arguments? It basically it's ABC. Okay, so Anne has this to say. A has to say that she's the only one who knows how to play the flute. Wow, that's a nice argument. That out of the three of us, I'm the only one who knows how to play it. Okay, so that's why I deserve it. It would be quite unjust. And see, now look at now, already a lawyer in the making. Okay, so we are already using a vocabulary. We're not saying I want it, this is mine because I know how to play. I think it is unjust to deny the flute to the person who can play it. Why would others take it? If out of the three I'm the only one who can play, that's my right, that's just. Justice demands that I should take it. Okay, B, what has B to say? Bob is saying, I am so poor that I have no toys of my own. Okay, so the flute will give me something to play with. And again, if you read the preface, then it would say that there's nobody's denying this fact. As in law school, we say this is an established fact. So nobody's saying, no, you're not so poor, we are also poor. No, everybody's saying, yeah, we know you don't have any other toy. And we agree that we have other toys. Okay. But this is his argument. But notice a different conception that he's saying. I am poor. I mean, you guys have other things to play. I will play with the with the flute. Mind you, Bob cannot play the flute. He doesn't know how to play it for the time being. I mean, it's a hypothetical situation, of course, we are thinking. So don't think, okay, so he can learn it. That's not the point. I mean, the point is, suppose he cannot learn, okay. But his argument is, I don't have anything else. Give me the flute. This is a just thing, okay. So his focus is changing from the idea of deserving because someone can use it, okay, utility, to deserving because someone does not have anything else, okay. That's what Bob is saying. I mean, I'm not even going into the complexities. I'm just saying, decide. You have 3 children. You are the judge. The third one, what is the third one saying? Carla is saying, so C is saying that, well, that's quite something. That it is C who was working diligently for many months to make the flute with her own labor. So there comes the third. Before you are almost about to decide in the 2, who do you want to give the flute? Here comes the third who says, I have made the flute. So I mean, stop it. Whoever can play it doesn't matter. You are poor. Well, I may have my empathy and sympathy for you, but I have made it. And then Sen puts these words that made the flute with my own labor. So my labor is invested in the flute. And just the time I finished making the flute, just then she complains, these expropriators came along and tried to grab the flute away from me. So the idea is, she's saying, I am the maker of the flute. Therefore, I deserve it. Now, these are 3 interesting conceptions of justice. And that is why we miss real life classes, because I'm so tempted that one should, I mean, and maybe you guys should do this, that it's tempting to have a discussion in a classroom setting. Who all are giving the flute to which person? And believe you me, that I have done this and my colleagues have done this. And I mean, till now, I have not come across a class which is unanimous in deciding who deserves the flute. There will always be a sort of a debate where someone will end up saying, Bob should get it, where others would say, obviously Clara, she's the maker. And somebody I've always seen would say, that's not the point. The point is that you have a flute. That person deserves the flute. Who can play it? Krishna deserves the flute. Okay. So this is what Sen means when he says that these are claims which are competing. So they are competing with each other, and also they are rivals of each other. So they're not just competing, but they are also fighting each other. That you are wrong. This is unjust that you are poor. It's unjust that you made it. I can play it. Therefore, I deserve it. And therefore, so the point is, all of them are using the language of justness, fairness, justice. Okay, that we need it because it is the right thing to do. It is just. Okay. And now this is this is the point that Amartya Sen is trying to make in the opening pages of his book, that it is not so easy in a complex society, because see, this is a nice simple example, and you can immediately complicate it if you substitute the flute with resources that a society is having, okay, and you substitute these 3 little kids, okay, with us, okay, with the humanity, okay. I mean, humanity is sick to be compared to kids, okay, as Jesus Christ would say, okay, but nevertheless, okay, if they will grow up, all kids grow up, so they will grow up, so we can substitute. Then it becomes a complex constitutional law question. Then it becomes, who should get the resources? Okay, how do we distribute the resources that we have as a country, as a community, as a society, as a nation state? Okay, how do we do that? What should be the basis of it? Okay, is it the maker? Is it the person who can best utilize it? Is it the person who is poor? How do we do that? So immediately this question becomes a complex political science question. Okay, so and I like that how Sen introduces this complexity in this simplified way, because believe me, politics and law, no matter how and what who tells you, are extremely simple ideas. Okay, and they should remain in their simplicity. Okay. But simple does not mean that there is no scope for thinking. That's the problem that with us, that we think simple things mean that, you know, we need not think at all. Okay, more on this. Three kids are giving three arguments. Okay, and Amartya Sen is saying all the three arguments, I mean, of course you will have your preference for one of the three, but all of them have their own justification. Okay, and if I translate these simple arguments on a plane of political science, which some of you might be students of, okay, then I can say that A's argument is the argument of pleasure and utility. What is A saying? I can play it. I'm Krishna. It's beautiful sounds I can create from this, you know, small, you're looking at it like a small thing, but I will turn it into a magnificent, you know, melodious instrument. Okay, so pleasure, utility, the best, this flute will be best utilized. I'm just looking at the time so that, you know, because I have this habit of overshooting myself. This flute will be best utilized, okay, utilized if the person who knows how to play it should get it. That's the kind of argument we are, here at. And in political science, you would say that this is the kind of argument that a certain kind of thinking called utilitarianism would give. Okay, a kind of thinking which emerged from a very interesting man called Jeremy Bentham, which I'm tempted to talk a lot about, but I should not. But as students, you should know how the poor guy had to study science while his dad wanted him to study law. What an interesting inversion, because I always saw it the other way around, that everybody wanted people to do science, when if you want to do laws, then you're looked on with the evil gaze or something. But this is the plight of Bentham. Bentham never wanted to study law, but father made him study law, while he always wanted to study science. Okay, and then he turned law into a science, but that's a different story. So pleasure and utility is A's argument. B's argument is also an important argument, almost a policy argument, which is of reducing economic gaps. So B's argument, you can't trivialize this argument. B's argument is what some people in a fashionable terms would call is a socialist argument, that resources should also go to those people who are worst off in the society. Okay, and sometimes that is justice. Okay, so this is almost a socialist argument. Okay, it's a kid giving without knowing these difficult words. Okay, C's argument is an argument of fruits of labor. That is, it's an argument of I have made it, I have earned it. And again, I will not bother you, but this is the kind of thinking that you will find in something in political philosophy, which is known as libertarianism. So a libertarian philosopher, libertarian thinker would say that if I earn something, I should get in entirety that thing. So libertarian thinkers like Nozick, okay, I mean, don't bother about his name, but the libertarian thinkers would even say, we would not like to pay any tax to the government. Why should we pay tax? We are earning our money with the hard work of our labor. So why should I pay even 1 penny to the government? Okay, and you would find libertarians, you know, wearing half a euro on their shirt, saying, you know, that why would half go to the government? No, it's not right. Okay, so this is also a kind of a philosophy. But we are not, I mean, but we are not interested in this complex political science at all. What we are interested in, and what Sen is interested in, is to communicate a very basic idea that, look at this, in these, if we can't even answer unanimously, that is without any dissent, okay, such a simple question that who deserves the flute, in a class of 20 people, we have difference of opinion there. And Sen is saying that all of these are valid arguments. I mean, of course, one would say the other is not valid, but we can't say this is it. Even if you say this is it, then that only tells that this is your preference. If you are a utilitarian, even if you don't know the word utilitarian, but if you are somebody who is somehow inclined towards that, you would say A should get it. If you're a socialist, even if you don't know the word socialist, then you would say B should get it. If you are a libertarian, without knowing the word, of course, words are bad things, then you would be inclined to give it to C. And Amartya Sen is simply saying that, well, it's complicated, therefore, okay? And of course, Sen is doing something which I'm not interested in talking to you. He's trying to basically question a man called John Rawls, who has written a theory of justice. And he's questioning his whole philosophy that how can you write a theory of justice when even such a simple situation cannot be answered, that what is the right thing to do? So how can you say this is justice? Okay. And so on. But we are not interested in either John Rawls and all these big names. We are simply interested in the fact that therefore justice, first of all, is a category that requires thinking, which is what my focus today is. That you should think, we need to think on some basic terms like even justice, even law, even love, and even friendship. We have stopped thinking about ideas, okay? So Sen is pushing you, think, okay, about this, okay? So great, in the next sort of 30 minutes that we have, okay, let me try to push you, okay, I'm just going there, just push you to think about these two terms. And I mean, actually, we should think more on all terms. But let's take the, as Mr. Krishna beautifully in his introduction said, the basic terms of anybody who is interested in law. I would say anybody who's interested in anything. I mean, if you're interested in politics, how can you not talk about justice in law? Okay, if you what is it that, in fact, I'm interested to know what is that area of life where idea of justice is not so important, where you can say who cares about law, rules and justice. Okay, we care about making money. Okay, so that's nice for me to figure out what part in life ever can such things be. But let me in the next 30 minutes ask you these questions, okay, with my aim ultimately, when the time I finish, that I should push you that why you should think, why you should read, why is it important to understand, and understand that it is not so easy to understand things. Question number one: relationship between law and justice. So again, I mean, I'll come back to relationship, which is again a beautiful word. Okay, it's a word which defines pretty much everything in our life. Okay, but we don't think about it. We take it for granted. Okay, while we should not take it for granted. Relationship is a big word. Relationship tells. When we think of relationship, we only think of romantic relationship. I mean, dating someone. That's not the only way. That's also an extremely important way, by the way. But that's not the only way you relate. You also relate with family. Okay, you also relate with your teachers, which is like an extended family to school. You also relate with state, as citizen, as non-citizen. These days there's a debate of what citizen, what non-citizen can claim. So this relationship is all the time haunting us, all the time. And in every relationship there is a complexity. Every, I mean, when I say every, I mean every. And if you say it's not there, I would just say you're not thinking enough. That's all. Or you don't want to think. That's also possible, right? We want to deny certain things. Okay. So relationship is an important word. Okay. What is the relationship between law and justice? Why am I calling it impossible? Okay. Then I want you to think about these two things, which again we generally don't think about. Okay. Hopefully you will think about it in law school, but sometimes we pass law school without thinking about this. That's the tragedy. Laws without justice. So when we think of relating law and justice, I am asking you, is it possible that there are rules, laws, which are not having anything to do with justice? That should be a bit odd for you, hopefully. Okay, because rules should be made in order to do something which is right, in order to do something which is just. Okay, but I am saying, and I'm tempted to say, can there be rules or laws which are without justice? Okay, and I put that unjust laws. So can we have something like unjust laws? Okay, that there are laws, but they are extremely problematic, extremely bad. Okay, very bad laws. Okay, or, and this is a word from one of the founders, one of the very famous founders of the Indian Constitution, lawless laws. Okay, and this expression is coming from Ambedkar. Okay. So law which is not worth calling a law. It's so bad. I mean, it's so little, so not just, so to say. What would this be? Let me take you to this category, and then I would like you to, so this is one category where I'm saying law but no justice. Okay, if we have laws without justice, what would that be? Second, or like third in my slide, have you ever thought about justice only, giving two hoots about law? And trust you me, even if your answer while hearing me is no, we haven't. Or even if your answer is I don't have time to think about this philosophy. My point to you is, you have. Even if you have read a Batman comics, or if you have seen a Batman trilogy film or something, or if you have read a Superman comic or watched Chacha Chaudhary or Shaktiman, okay, and so on, then you have thought about this. But and I hope you might be getting it. So let's go there. Let's go at both these categories more carefully. Why am I saying this? I'm just saying these are things which are there in our imagination. Okay, they pass by every day in front of us, but we see but don't see them. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, let's look at this complexity, and then we come back to the first question of relationship between law and justice, and then finally we'll come back to the question of impossible relationship. All relationships are impossible, as I was saying. Okay, so the first part first, laws without justice. Okay, I'll take you back to Greece. Okay, and this is because it's a beautiful story. Okay, it's a story called, and it's a play, it's a drama. Okay, those of you who are interested in theater should love it. It's a story called Antigone, written by a very important Greek playwright called Sophocles. Okay, Sophocles is an extremely interesting man who has written plays on something called Oedipus, from which you might have heard the term Oedipus complex. So yes, that word Oedipus complex has come from originally this Greek writer, okay, which was picked up by Freud later. So what is Antigone? Antigone is actually a formulation of something like unjust laws. As you can see in this pixelated bad picture, there's this woman and there's a dead man, and there's another woman who's holding the hand of this woman. The woman, the focused woman, is Antigone, okay, and the woman who's holding her hand is her sister. So what is happening here is this dead person is their brother, okay. Brother has died because he became the enemy of the nation, okay. So I mean, it's a fight between two brothers, Creon, who is the king, and this guy who has died, Polynices, okay. This sister is in trouble. I mean, so it's like a Mahabharata happening in Greece, okay, and brothers are fighting brothers. So one brother has died, okay, and now the sister wants to bury the brother, okay. She wants to give him the proper funeral rites, okay. But the other brother, Creon, the king, and kings make laws, okay. Kings make laws, government make laws, okay. Uh, so king has made the law that since he was against our country, he is an enemy. Anybody who will try to give him proper burial rites will be given death penalty. So capital punishment for anybody who is doing this. Okay. So don't try to bury him. Let him be eaten, or let him be swallowed up by, as you can see, vultures around. Okay, and so on. As a sister, she doesn't like this idea, and she tries to bury him. As you can see, this is the picture where she's trying to throw some mud over the brother's body. Okay, and the cautious sister is trying to tell her, don't do this, go up. King has this is the law, and she doesn't give a damn. Okay, then obviously what has to happen happens. She's arrested, and then she's brought before the king, and this sister, the little one, is saying that please plead ignorance of law. Okay, very legal play actually, that say I never knew that this is the law, that you should not bury ABC. But Antigone is a different metal. When the king asked him, did you know about the law? She said, of course I know about the law. I know that it is not possible. Then he said, well, then why did you do what you did? And she said, because it's a wrong law. It's an unjust law. And in her words, this is what she said. Creon says, the king, you knew about the edict and yet you dare to contravene it. Says Antigone, yes, that order did not come from God. I did not think that your edict, so she's saying you as a human being, is strong enough to overrule the unwritten, unalterable laws of heaven. You being only a man, they are not of yesterday or today, but everlasting, though where they came from, none of us can tell. So basically what she's saying is that giving a proper burial to my brother is something which you cannot take away, because this is something which is sanctified by divinity. Okay. And so in other words, what she's saying is that there can be certain things that you cannot do even by way of law. Okay, that's what she's saying. Of course, it's a time when she's speaking a certain kind of a language. If today she has to argue, then she will not, she will substitute the word God with existence, right? With nature, say, natural law. Okay, so that will become that will not change anything actually, but that will just make it more acceptable to a certain kind of a ethos. Okay, so but please understand her argument. She's in a way saying that, see, these laws are not laws. Okay, so this is also a thinking that law can be there, but people are saying that despite the rule, despite the law, we will not follow it because it's an unjust law. So, I mean, I hope you get the point. Generally, we think law is something that will give us justice. Antigone is saying this is a law which itself is unjust, and therefore I don't obey this law. This will become extremely important, as you will soon know, and some of you might already know, in the 20th century, after what happened in the lovely Nazi Germany, which is the point of discussion for most of us. Okay, that after by law, by the way, I think that whatever happened in the times of Adolf Hitler is extremely legal. That's why a law student should always be interested in it, okay, and not just a political science student. So after what happened in Germany, this question took the center, at least in Europe, that how can you make the laws killing human beings in concentration camps legally by law under the authority of the constitution? Okay, so this is what, but please don't miss this, that my emphasis is on the fact that these people are saying that law can be there without the content of justice. Okay, so only law. Justice is gone, so the relationship is broken. Okay, there's a divorce between law and justice, only law, and they are saying this is not, we don't take it. Okay, but why should we only stay with Greece, and why should we only stay with Germany? Okay, think of India, think of the freedom fighters, okay, as many as you can think of, who said that the laws made by the British are unjust laws and we will not follow them. I mean, think of first. I mean, think of Gandhi, for example. Okay, who, because of this famous speech on sedition. Okay, when he said that I disobey and I plead guilty. Okay, for what the charge is against me, because this is a prince of cruel sections in the law. Okay, think of someone like Maulana Azad. Think of someone like Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Okay, who are all kinds of people who will be, who will be put under this these kind of draconian laws of British. People like Annie Besant, people like, I mean, you can think of nobody you would find who has not gone to behind the prison under the laws and who have not challenged the law as unjust law. Okay, to say the point. Okay, so there are a lot of people who are saying, who are emphasizing on the first point, which is that law can be there without justice. Okay, without any relation with justice, and this is intolerable for us. Okay, Ambedkar would do a wonderful work. Okay, and I've called him Bhimrao because as a young student, as a young boy, he would work very hard in the library. Okay, which we have stopped doing completely. Okay, with the smart times and smartphones. Okay, and drawing scorchingly from the sacred law texts. So he's reading the Hindu texts of classical Hindu religion from Manu, Yagnavalak, Narad, Vishnu. Okay, Ambedkar brings out what are the laws in the wonderful treatise and works that these people have written. Okay, which we have forgotten, by the way. Okay, and he brings out this list of relationship between law and punishment, with some of which you should actually look at, that if and how it has a caste and relevance, that if there is a high class person farting over, I mean a lower class caste person breaking the wind farting, okay, then anus should be cut off. So he's basically, I mean, you can it's all available, but what is Ambedkar's point? So I'm saying, if a lot of freedom fighters are fighting for British laws, here is a man called Ambedkar who's saying that even our classical laws are wrong. So I mean, not just the British, but we are also, like, as a culture, having laws which are extremely problematic. They're unjust or unfair to a certain kind of population. Okay, so so all of these people are basically saying that we want justice. Okay, we don't just want laws. So you can't just be fetishistic about laws. You can't just say, I love the law and I'm just a law, and you just have rules and laws, and every day let's make a new law and everything will be sorted. Let's make a new law for rape, let's make a new law for this, and let's make a new law for this, and wow, we're done. Okay. What if laws, I mean, because laws can be made without anything to do with justice. That's what we are learning from Greek mythology to classical Hindu mythology to the freedom fighters to Nazi Germany, and across the board is the story that we hear. Okay, which again brings to the point that I'm trying to make. Please don't forget the title of our talk, that there can be laws which are with no relationship with justice, to put it better. Let's move, because we are in the last sort of 15-20 minutes left. Okay, let's move to the other end of the spectrum, where the divorce of law and justice has happened. But instead of just talking about law, okay, we are talking about justice. So I mean, okay, if I'm becoming a bit confusing, let me repeat my point. All these examples that I have taken till now, I'm taking examples of the fact that there are laws, but we don't see justice. This is what these people are saying, whether it is Ambedkar, whether it is Gandhi, and I mean, so imagine Ambedkar, Gandhi are two ends of the spectrum, okay, and so on, okay. These are people, whether it is Antigone, whether it is the post-Holocaust Nazi, laws which are under trial, okay. So these people are in a way saying that these are laws which are not, which have no relationship with justice, okay. Now I'm saying let's reverse the trend. Can there be something like, can we imagine justice without any relationship with law? So let's come to that end, justice without law. So what would be, I don't know, what would be a simple example of justice without law? I am just a bit concerned that everything is all right. Yeah, it is. Great. Okay, I mean, because that's the anxiety I have, that whether you're listening to me or not, because I have no idea. So I just got a call on my phone from an unknown number, and I thought, oh my God, have I lost you? Am I talking to myself? But hopefully not. Okay. So coming to the point, justice without law. This is something which is a very important and interesting category, because it is something, see, on the one hand, sometimes you may see it in a very negative term, that what would be justice without law? So you may say something which is again very popular these days, vigilante justice. You have heard of the word? Yeah, a person behaving like a vigilant, okay, without any authority of law, okay. So I'm not a policeman, I'm not somebody who's authorized to hold you, but I pick you up. What are you doing? Why are you standing there? Why are you smoking? Okay. So I'm being extra vigilant without any authority, without any rule backing me. Okay. So I'm a vigilante. Okay. So vigilantism would be seen as, but because if you ask a vigilante, why are you doing what you are doing? So I would say, because this is right, because this is just. Why should you, why should you stand and smoke on the road? Okay, when smoking in a public place is not allowed. But what I'm discounting is the fact that I'm not a person authorized to do this. So instead of following a certain kind of an authority, I am saying, who cares about the authority? Who cares about law? Justice I care about, I'm doing it. Okay. So I'm having a very serious argument, actually, which can convince you. But more interestingly, because we can take a very moral high ground that, okay, of course we don't like a vigilante, we are law students or something, though these are positions that we only take on public platforms, unfortunately. Okay. But I'm saying it is much more deeper in our psyche, that we love the idea of justice without law. Where? And that's where I just began with this. Think of this character, Superman. Superman's answer to this question would be an emphatic yes, because Superman does justice. He doesn't give a damn about laws. I mean, he does not say, I'm arresting you, you have rights, in the US style. He would just go and do the right thing. Okay. Forget about the rules and laws of governments and nations. Okay. Superman does not even follow the rules and law of physics. So he can fly and he can, break all the rules of nature to do justice. So imagine Superman. And imagine Superman as us, okay? Superman as a character, and also historically think of when is Superman coming when Action Comics appear, okay? And when the character of Superman takes the stage in the world. What is happening in the world when Superman came? Because see, things are not abstract in life. When was the historical time? 1930s. So what was happening in 1930s? When Action Comics brought in Superman, which became such a character that even after almost 100 years, even people in India are wearing Superman t-shirts. So I mean, wow. So what is this character which has such an appeal on our psyche? But at another level, Superman is a vigilante. Yeah, I mean, Superman is somebody who is saying, I do justice, I don't care about law. Long before, okay, Me Too, you know, he would be saying that, I mean, laws are just unnecessarily procrastinating life. So that's Superman, and again, so why am I bringing in Superman? I'm only bringing in Superman to say, don't you be quick to take a high position that, oh, I am not vigilante, I am a law-abiding citizen. But you love Superman. I'm sure you have worn or have a desire to wear a Superman t-shirt sometime as a kid. So which means this idea is appealing. There's a psychic appeal to the idea of justice without law. Although on a public forum, I might not be very comfortable in saying that I'm no, I'm a law-abiding citizen, right? And so on. And this is the complexity that one has to. But now let me say what I'm saying. The complexity is that, but then Superman, if we think, becomes a vigilante. So Superman, it becomes a criminal. So our greatest hero, I like him, becomes our greatest villain. Because the hero becomes a criminal then, if we start thinking. And that's when one starts feeling that, oh no, so justice is a great idea. But without law, would it be worth it? And this is nice because what I'm taking you to the next slide is something very nice, because this thinking also is done for us by cinema. I mean, and since Superman is a sort of a Euro-American character, so the Euro-American cinema thought about this, okay? And who thought about it? Let me take you to a film which you might be interested in. This is a lovely film called The Dark Knight, okay? There is a trilogy of Batman films. Again, Batman, a superhero, okay? A trilogy, Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and then another one, okay, by Christopher Nolan. And this is the one I've selected called The Dark Knight, which is the second of the three. I recommend all three for you to watch. And I'm sure if you have watched it, I have multiple things for you to think about this film. Okay. But this is a very complex movie. And I've picked up Dark Knight because Dark Knight is making the kind of argument that I'm trying to make. Which is, and this is a film, by the way, those of you who have not seen, where the famous character of Joker appears on the cinematic screen. Okay, and Joker became so famous a character that now we have last year we had a film called The Joker, and everybody knows the Joker mask. You should type Amazon Joker mask and you'll find. So everybody's like, we know the Joker. So this is the movie where the Joker comes in. Okay, and what is fascinating about The Dark Knight is, I mean, there are multiple hundred things which are fascinating, but I would just take two or three. One, that Batman is as a character, if you watch the first film, Batman Begins, is like close to human being. So I mean, if you think of Bruce Wayne, who's the man who becomes Batman, he's a boy who's struggling to become powerful so that he can fight the world. So he's not like just Superman who has power. It's not a Spider-Man who has like special power. It's a guy who's fighting, okay, and so it's quite close to being a human, okay, and so on. Second exceptional part about The Dark Knight is that Christopher Nolan, okay, who's the director, he criticizes the idea of the superhero, and that's why I wanted to bring this up in this discussion. So my point is, and I mean, it's not my point, but I'm saying this is the point that everybody has made, but it's an extremely important point because you might have missed this point also. Okay, The Dark Knight is actually a critique of superhero, okay, as a film. And that is why Joker, the character, is so important and so popular. Because in the whole film, Joker is constantly asking Batman that I am doing what you do. Please watch this film again, and if you have not seen, please watch it. The film begins by Joker has robbed a bank, but then this guy has robbed a bank, you know, where all wrong kind of money is there, and he's going to become a Robin Hood by maybe he'll do something nice. Okay, so Joker is not the person who's killing innocents. He's taking the money of the most worst of the criminals of the city. Okay, Joker is a guy who's not interested in money actually. Okay, so he's not making. I mean, in fact, if you watch the film, he will burn his share of the money entirely, and he will say that, you know, we need a better character of criminals in our country. So Joker is a very fascinating character, and you would find that you would. I mean, so there's another scene in the film. I would have played it if it were not such a small seminar, where they are where Joker is arrested and they are asking, ki, okay, any identity card, you know, any Aadhaar or whatever, you know. And the police guy says, you know, we found nothing. No name, nothing, no identity. This guy has no identity. And that's a very interesting moment in the film, because my reading of that moment is that Joker does not exist. Joker is Batman. Batman, I mean, by which I mean that Joker does not exist as a person. Joker is simply an idea that Batman can always become Joker, because Batman is doing justice without law. That's what Joker is doing. Because his sense of justice is, I will take the money of those criminals and I will, you know, distribute it. I will kill them. So and that's why it's the only film perhaps that I know, a superhero film, where the superhero takes the blame in the end. So Batman is taking the blame in the end. Please watch the end of the film and rethink about it. So Nolan, and I have 5 minutes more, so I'll just try to now wrap up the points that I wanted to make. So Nolan is trying to critique the idea of justice without any relationship with law. And I'm saying it's not easy because we love this idea. That's why we love superheroes. Okay. And Nolan is saying, well, but then in doing justice, we become criminals. And please look at the caption on the poster of The Dark Knight. Look at what it reads. It reads, "Welcome to a world without rules." Wow, that's quite interesting. So it's like, welcome to a world of justice without law. Okay. So this is how it is, and watch this movie and maybe ask me, you know, if you're interested. And of course, there's a critique of democracy in this film also, which comes in the right end, but we're not interested in that today. So I am talking about the impossible relation. So let me sort of, in the last 5 minutes I have, let me sort of recap what I'm trying to say. Okay, let's come back to the title, okay, of impossible relation. So what am I saying? So I am saying that these kind of Superman films are again telling us that just like law with no relationship with justice can be terrorizing. Okay, from Ambedkar to Gandhi to Azad to name it, okay, Tilak to, okay, name the person, and you know, you would find the person saying this. Okay, what they have said, that law with no relation to justice is tyranny. Okay, in a similar way, even Hollywood is telling you, and Nolan is obviously, I mean, intelligent director, that no, don't therefore think that we can give up on law and we just focus on justice, because justice without any relationship with law would mean that Batman becomes the Joker, or Batman is the Joker. Okay, which is what it is. Okay, uh, so what does that mean? This means that we need both justice and the law in order for things to be fair, but we cannot fetishize, and if let me use a better, simpler term, we cannot be romantic about either of the two. And people are romantic about either of the two. So if you are a law professor, lawyer, okay, then you are saying law, we want law, okay. Like, and if you're in power, then you are just saying, I will make law for everything and solve every problem, you know, and so on. But we keep making laws and we don't solve problems, you know. And that's what we're saying. We keep making such horrible laws as our freedom fighters are telling us, as Antigone is telling us, okay. So there can be a kind of a fetishistic or a kind of a insane love for law. And if you're a lawyer, there's a possibility that you may fall in that. That, oh yeah, law solves everything. Okay, law, if there is law, justice will come. Well, not necessarily is what history is telling us. Not just our own history, colonial history, but also the history of the colonizers, the European history, the German Nazi history, okay, or the American for that matter. But that's not the point. On the other hand, we can also not fetishize justice, and I'm using that word again and again. Uh, 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 we can also not romanticize justice. That justice is brilliant. Let's do justice. Let's not waste time in these processes and procedures. Just do it. Kill the person right away. So no matter how seductive this idea is, no matter how this idea is with us since our childhood and we are wearing this idea as a t-shirt, okay, this idea would make us take the blame like Batman takes the blame in The Dark Knight. Which means that this idea is actually making us close to the criminal. So then we don't know what to do. And therefore, just justice is also, I mean, just justice as in not justified justice, but merely justice is also not something which can do something for us. And which means that we need this relationship to hold between law and justice, while very well knowing this, that neither, I mean, these two are not in a simple relationship that, okay, we have law, so we get justice. No, it's possible we have law, we have no justice. It's possible we are thinking of justice without law, we get nothing, we get violence, okay? But despite that, we have to hold on to the two ideas, okay? And it is tough, but that's what even popular Hollywood is asking us to do. That's the difficulty, that's the struggle, that's the dialectic. Okay, and that's why this is an impossible relation in some way, but we have to work to make it possible. Every day think about it, and every day rethink about our own self, that we are thinking this, but am I right, am I wrong? And in the last 2 minutes I will just say, therefore we can't just speak in this kind of a childish way, and children are the only one who don't speak in childish fashion. That's the fascinating part, because they are most curious. The more adult we become, the more childish we become, okay? But we can't think in this childish way that, okay, here is my recommendation, change this law, done, here is my recommendation, forget about it, let's do justice. Law is too difficult to follow, let's just do it, okay, and so on. ABC justice, okay, colonized justice, victim justice, this justice, that justice. I mean, the question is, that's what does that mean without the law, without a structure? Because it's not individuals, it is structures which are a problem, okay? And that's why in my last, like, I can see the clock, it's like 3 past 6, just 2 minutes. That's why I want to plead to you that that's why reading is important. That's why we join universities. That's why we need to study. Because in the time that we are living, education is more about certification. That I get a certificate from which university, from whatever, what course, wow, what's my market value now? What's my CV point now? And the problem with this kind of an approach is, and I mean, think of the way we think of subject, law as a career, or as a scope, wow, like by scope or something, no? The question is, we have to read because we don't understand. We don't understand something as simple as relationship, but we think we know it. And we repeat the mistakes done by our parents, our culture, and we will keep on repeating because we are thinking that we know. Again, what I said, memory versus understanding. Repeating something does not mean we know it. And that's why we need to read. We need to spend time on reading, not to secure marks or not to become smart people who can ask great questions or, throw some absolutely brilliant names, but actually very honest people who are just trying to figure out, first of all, knowing that we don't know anything. All our solutions are useless. So we need to work hard. And with this final slide, I want you to, and I want to say, go back to our times, go back to our freedom fighters and the people we look up to. All of them read, even people who are not very well read, like Chandrasekhar Azad, okay? There's a beautiful book called Singhavlokan by Yashpal, okay? Who writes that Chandrasekhar is not somebody who's very well read. So, but he will still keep a book in his pocket. Why? ताकि कोई मिले तो कहें कि please read a bit for me. Why don't you read? तो कोई बात नहीं if I don't know how to read, आप पढ़ दीजिए. But can you? I mean, I can't imagine even educated people today keeping a book. Okay, that okay, we'll read of it. I mean, it's quite fascinating the kind of reading impetus we have, the kind of reading that somebody like Patel would do, somebody like Gandhi would do. Somebody, and I mean, and I want to end with this. Look at this boy, Ambedkar. Okay, the young boy Ambedkar. Okay, I just want to read this for you because he's known as the founder of the Indian Constitution, and we talk a lot about him when we talk about law. So, and this is the forgotten Ambedkar. The student scholar worked for 18 hours a day in Columbia University to obtain the MA degree, okay, in 1916. 1916. Please remember, Ambedkar has no money to go to Columbia. He is belonging to an extremely impoverished family. He could go because a king has supported him. Okay, so he has paid for his education, and he has to pay back. So don't consider Ambedkar to be one of the guys who's just going, you know, for on some scholarship. He can't go. He can't even think of, forget Columbia. He can't think of, you know, moving out of his village. Okay, so this is so 18 hours a day he's working. Okay, and writing a thesis. An Ambedkar who grew into a bibliophile and purchased about 2,000 books in the city of New York. Please remember, this is not a boy who has any money at all. In fact, in his biography, it is written that sometimes a student comes and says, Ambedkar, Bhimrao, let's have a coffee. And he says, no, I mean, you know, we can't. And then this girl says that, you know, but it's okay. I mean, I'll pay for it. But I mean, it's 2 minutes. I know you are all the time working. And, you know, I know, but some break should be taken. And he said, that's not the point. I don't have time. I have very little time. And of course, I don't have money. So, but buying 2,000 books in the city of New York. And Ambedkar, who for years went from London Museum and toiled there from dawn to dusk till the watchman had to seek him out to leave. Nice. We have forgotten this man, by the way. Okay, when we think of Ambedkar, we don't think of this. Okay, an Ambedkar who lived on frugal diet, who would not eat, that means, okay, so that he can use his savings to buy books. Wow. I don't think we ever hear of this man like this. Yeah, this reminds me of Vincent van Gogh, who would not eat so that he can paint, because nobody would buy his paintings. And when he's dead, then the whole Amsterdam is about Vincent van Gogh. So why are these people working? Why are these people toiling if there is nothing in reading? Okay, that's the question that I leave you with. That, you know, it's so I will end by saying that I'm using the idea of relationship between law and justice to obviously make you think about law and justice, not just in law school, but even in popular culture like films, but also to think about not just law and justice, but the idea of relationship itself. And finally, for you to for once realize that reading, writing, studies are not about some kind of a career or some kind of a degree which will make you some great person, but it's about learning how little we learn about ourselves and our relationships. And we have created the world, which is an insane world. And if we want to save our own self, forget the world, okay, we need to figure out what is going on. And that's why we have to read. And that's my final thing to all of you, that which I always say to my student, that it's very fashionable to say that I am there to change the world. Okay. I mean, this is a very quotable quote that philosophers of the world have interpreted the world. It's time now to change it. I appeal to you that please don't be in a hurry to change the world, because people are trying to change the world without knowing what they will change it into. So actually, please stop this hurry of doing things and wait. Hysterics of the world have done enough damage in trying to change everything. First of all, it's time to interpret the world, interpret yourself, interpret your relationships with your family, with your romantic partners, with your state, okay, with your community, with your society. And until we make sense of it, what are we changing into and what are we changing? I have no idea. And that is why you have to study. And that is why you have to, and of course, law is a domain which is at the cusp of all. I mean, all of these are lawyers. I mean, Ambedkar is a lawyer, Gandhi is a lawyer. Okay. who is not a lawyer. I mean, in that sense, because law is something which brings you close to society and brings you close to history in a ways which is unparalleled. Okay, that's why maybe Bentham's father wanted him to do law, but you should not do law if you are a Jeremy Bentham. Okay, thank you so much for your patience. I stop here.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I really love the Dark Knight philosophy which you shared here, because when I was watching the movie, even I remember. But you know, there are a few questions on that also. I hope you've also seen the Joaquin Phoenix one. So there are a few questions on that also. So I hope you have seen that Joker also, because a very different form of jurisprudence is also put across.
Yeah. But though I mean, just because you brought it up, so I don't. I mean, I'm also aware of the kind of enthusiasm that has got off for that movie, and I mean, yeah. But that's a long discussion. I mean, I don't share the kind of enthusiasm which Michael Moore and all have said about the new Joker. But I like the film. I mean, broadly, I like it. But yeah, I mean, but that's a long discussion for some other time. Yeah.
Okay, but you have a question coming up on that, so we can discuss that.
Oh my God! Don't ask me. But anyway, I mean, I hope that we have like more questions. So maybe you can give me some questions and I'll try to respond.
Yeah. Straight away. So Kritika Balu, I guess she's your student with Basit, and both of them have sent a hi to you. And then here comes the question.
That's so nice. Oh my God! Now I'm embarrassed actually. So this is not for young people. It's like a more interesting group. Yeah, it's learned people then. Yeah, I'm talking to. Yeah.
So Kritika is asking you a question. She's asking, looking at law as a theory, idea, philosophies, or the practice of law?
Yeah, sorry. So what's the question?
The question is, she's asking, are we looking at law as theory, idea, philosophies, or the practice of law?
Okay, I mean that's a very fine question. I mean, I need to think before answering this question, but because when I'm using the word law, then I mean at one level I would say it is all the three. Okay, let me. I mean, I'm thinking aloud with you. So I mean, but I think I use it as all the three. Okay, how? I think law, I'm saying in a generic sense as an idea, which is any rule. Okay, so when I use the word law, okay, and its relationship with justice, I'm obviously saying law as in that, do we need a certain kind of a structure where there are rules? So in that sense, it's an idea. And obviously, you can say I am very, very close to its practice, because so for instance, when I am bringing in Antigone, or when I am bringing in Nazi Germany, then I am talking about hardcore laws which we are practicing. So for instance, when there are people who are opposing the CAA today, they are in some sense recalling the argument of lawless laws to some way, or unjust laws in some way, those who are sort of in opposition to that. So yes, I mean, I would say I am using it as an idea, as law. I mean, practically, I mean, in practice, I mean as a material law. I mean, as a rule which is enacted by the competent authority. And yes, theoretically, in this way, that theoretically I would say that I'm using the word law as, for example, the positivists in law would use it. I mean, like law as in the idea that let's create law, and more law will solve things without thinking about anything. And which sort of reminds me of a very nice point, which I don't know, I mean, I'm missing this when I heard this, when somebody said that if you count the index of a country by not GDP but GLP. I think Upan said this, So not GDP, not gross domestic product, but gross legislative product. Then we are the greatest actually. Every day we are coming out with laws, okay? But that does not make you great. I mean, that does not make us close to things don't get solved. So in that sense, I'm also using the expression law. I mean, and I of course, I'll think about it. I'm very glad to hear from both of these people, which, so we should have a longer discussion. But yeah, I mean, in this way, I'm saying that I'm thinking aloud in this fashion. So I mean, just the last comment again, like I'm extremely interested in how to make sense of the, like in the, for example, in the present moment, of the kind of a divide which has come, okay, between the feminist thinkers post Me Too, okay. So how to make sense of Pratiksha Bakshi and surprisingly Nivedita Menon, who would say that no, we need to hang on to some kind of a due process, as opposed to another generation of writers who would say that due process has failed us all the time. So we should, what I mean, due process is completely failed us. So what are we harping on when we are harping on a due process? So in some ways, for me, this is a debate which is again of some kind of a law and justice. And of course, this is a discussion that we should have materially. But my sort of instinctual answer is that no answer is immediately right, because those who would say that no, we need the law is everything, without law you are vigilante. So I mean, that is some kind of a law fetish, which we should learn from history, that I mean, laws are not it. But on the other hand, I use Dark Knight to, I mean, carefully say that the other dream also can be a dream which will lead to, like what has happened to, for example, what happened in the Soviet Union, that a dream that can go wrong, and then we have to be extremely careful about that. So yeah, but great. I mean, that's very nice to hear both of you, and good and lovely to see you, in this.
Okay. Another question is from Monica Yadav. She's asking, if
Yeah.
their choice, what would you choose?
What
Justice
could you?
without, what would you choose? What would
Oh,
be your choice? Yeah.
yeah.
Justice without law or law without justice?
So see, it's a very nice question, and I would actually answer this, or I mean, I would not answer this question, but it's a brilliant question. But I would simply say that's my point. Why? So I am precisely making the argument that we need a final solution too quickly. Like we just want a certainty that tell us what you are choosing. Okay. My point is that I want to accept that we don't know this. Okay. Right. And let us understand that we are uncertain on this question. Okay. And that's where the beginning can happen. So my argument is that anybody who wants to take a clear position, okay, that this is what I want, is already falling into the trap, okay, which is a trap of lawyers, actually, that we know how things are. Okay. My point is that we are in times where we need to accept that we don't know anything, okay, but we are not ready to accept the fact that we are so unknown about our own basic self, but we are pretending. Okay. And I mean, I mean, since I've said it in such a bad way, so let me put it in a little sharper fashion. What I'm saying is, sometimes a certainty can be a form of that we are hiding a certain kind of vulnerability or uncertainty. Like, okay, I'll take an example of this actually. There is a very interesting film called, because a lot of people are interested in films, okay? So there's a very interesting film called Lipstick Under My Burqa, okay? And there's a very nice scene in that movie, okay, where one of the actress, okay, her husband sees Konkana Sen, that she is working and she's doing quite well, while he was like a guy who would not like the wife to work, and would like the wife to be doing the domestic work and so on. And then they show the scene that after this man would end up sort of raping her. So it's a husband raping the wife. Okay. And I thought that it's a very poignant moment in the film, because that act of physical violence by the husband in a way was showing that this husband is asserting his power, okay, when he is actually realizing, I mean, when the reality is that he's realizing that he is like, his impotence is coming out with this ultra potency. So the only way he can deal with the fact that he's an idiot, okay, is by showing some kind of an ultra masculinity. And that's what a lot of people have started saying, people like Drusilla Cornell, that actually there is a deep anxiety in masculinity, okay, possibly, okay. So a good position to start with is, so I don't want to take that position that I know. I am saying, can we deal with this uncertainty that we don't know, but we are ready to struggle and figure out, and we are ready to figure out that, okay, this is not the right way. This is problematic. So I can't choose. I mean, of course, I would choose in a moment when the situation comes as a lesser evil. But I mean, the idea of thinking is that we are trying to live with this uncertainty, that we are not yet certain about either of the two positions. Okay, that we are neither certain about justice nor we are certain about laws to be romanticized. So let's accept this uncertainty, which is what I wanted to say. So I mean, I will consciously not answer this question, because if I answer, then I undercut the whole argument that I'm making. And this actually reminds me, and I'll say this because I don't know, it's a very varied audience. This reminds me of something I said to Basit actually, and I want to say this to an audience who want to study law and education. I mean, we once we met and we had a discussion, and a lot of our university students were saying that, you know, after having, so we are having biases, but once we do some good courses, we become great people, okay, and we become amazing, and you know, we become more diverse, and education makes us nice. And I was having this conversation with Basit that true education makes us nice, but it is also possible human beings are so complicated that education can make us more cunning. So when I'm not educated, at least I speak my mind, and you realize that I am what I am, how bad I am. But once I'm educated, then I speak in this kind of a politically correct and absolutely embellished language. You never know who I am. So I mean, then this cunning creature that education makes us is actually more scary for me. Then I mean, so I would any day prefer a person who is what you call a whatever, you know, idiot fundamentalist or something, because you at least know what they are saying, rather than this convoluted person whom you have to deconstruct to figure out that you know what they are saying. So that's what I mean by this, that education has also a, so don't romanticize education. We have to struggle in education, that how we are learning. I mean, otherwise, yeah, education can become a nice way for us to become very dubious people. But anyway, that's more questions. We have 10 more minutes.
Yeah. So Payal Mangla is asking, how do we know whether a law is just or not when we can't even be sure about what is just?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question. I mean, that's the question. I mean, so I mean, don't ask me this question, right? So right. So that's the part. I mean, you never know what is a justice. So the I mean, let me, okay, I'll avoid this question by answering who I mean, you know, something what Amartya Sen said once. I mean, in the same book, who said that we may not ever know what is justice, okay, but still we may fight because we have a sense of what is unjust. Like, you know, we have a sense of that this is wrong. So let's stop making theories of justice, he's telling John Rawls, but let's at least fight things which we think that are unjust. And which is something like saying like this, you know, that we would never know, and I use this example a lot actually, that we can never attain equality possible, right? I mean, people are so unique that maybe you can never have an equal world, possibly. I mean, but that does not mean that we should jump to a conclusion that so okay, equality is impossible, so so we should be unequal, so that's lovely. No, I mean, even if equality is not possible to be, like, you know, that we can put it, this is equality, we should still fight for a world which is less unequal or less unjust. So I think that's the point. I mean, and that's my response to this question, that this is good that justice will never be pinned down like this, that this is just act, you know, as Derrida would say. Okay, that's the point, that we have to understand this complex relationship, that we have to keep fighting for something which we don't know what it is. That's why the impossible, you know, to be made possible. But please go ahead, more questions.
Yeah, now I think this is one of those questions which you would love to answer. Abdul Halim is asking us, suggest some books, sir, since you have been talking about reading. So can you suggest us some books which we should be reading during this lockdown to understand law and justice better?
Okay, so then I think why don't you email me, because I should send you a list of books, and email me, and also please be more specific, like, so what interested you more, okay, in this. But I would be happy, like, because this way, like, what if I send you 10 books? And I mean, that's another point I wanted to say, actually, that we don't even watch, we don't even think of films, okay, what to say of books. And I want you to really say that we have this habit of uploading, so we have all the books as ebooks in our computer, which we never read, actually. Okay, so I mean, yeah, so I would say I would love to tell you, but actually send me an email, and I mean, I would be very happy to send you a book or an article. But if I know you better, then where are you placed? Because I mean, now I'm realizing that I mean, I'm talking to lawyers and philosophers to class 12 student. So
No,
once I
it's
know
an
you,
amalgamation of
then I'll
it's
be
an
better.
amalgamation of all. It's an amalgamation of all. In fact, we have some students also, and I think he has
Good.
asked you a question which can be a question from many others also.
Yeah,
So
and so please, I mean, I hope, Mr. Krishna, you are sharing my email ID with them.
yes, yes,
So,
we'll be sharing an email
yeah,
ID and we'll be
so
sending an email to all the students, so you can share
wonderful.
the
So
with
please
us.
email
Yes,
me,
and
and I will write back to you on this. That's a good question, really. I mean, that's great to hear that you want to read. Great. But yeah, go ahead.
okay. Yeah. So the next question is, can you please throw light on delay in executions? Doesn't it
Okay.
messes up the real justice? By
Okay.
execution
Yeah.
means death penalty. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, true, true. I mean, though this question is not from what I have spoken today, but that's why it's a altogether different question. But I would briefly, therefore, say that, since, because I can't go into that. Yeah, I mean, you're right that, but what I am saying is that these are two fights that we have to take on. One is this, that we have these material things, okay, that we have to fight. That there are delays, there are, of course, they are misuse of the laws, they are differential application of law. This is one fight. And then there is another conceptual fight that we have to fight as well, which is, how do we think about the idea of justice? So yeah, I mean, I agree with you that delay is a big problem. And also I would like to provoke you that, what are certain things that get more delayed than others? So I mean, if you also compile this, that one is a general delay, that there's a long delay in certain kind of cases which we have to fight. Another is that there are certain cases which never get decided. Think of those cases. 20 years. The case is still in the trial court. Why? Okay. So this is that's the kind of question that there also we need to differentiate. But yes, anything else? Because I'm seeing that there are just 2, 3, 4 minutes, so I should take as
Yeah.
many as.
I think that's exactly last. Again, there are many questions on the same topic. I guess people didn't hear to the other questions, so I has already answered it. One final question, which I think you may or you may not take, is I am very sure this is being asked by a school student. She wants to know that who was your favorite character as drawn by the directors, the Joker in Dark Knight or the Joker in Joker?
Okay, that's an easy choice, actually, because I think the Joker in the Dark Knight, uh, absolutely, like, because the sheer, and I mean, one can really talk on 2 hours, and I would really recommend immediately a brilliant piece on this by a writer called Todd McGowan. I mean, and write to me if you want to read it, and who has written a beautiful piece on this. He's written a book, actually. Uh, it's called The Fictional Christopher Nolan. Okay, so you should check out that book on Amazon. But I have no doubt about that. But that I'm any day I would prefer the Joker of the Dark Knight, for simply this reason. Thus, that this man does not exist, actually. I mean, this Joker is Batman, and there's so many hints in the movie. I mean, there's a moment when Batman is about to hit him and beat him up, and I was almost thinking of playing certain scenes for you. But then in this 1 hour format, not possible. And then he says, I mean, I don't want to hit you. I don't want to. I am a fan of yours. Why are you thinking I'm against you? Because both the Joker and Batman have a philosophy of doing justice. Okay, of in the sense which is like a Kantian sense of that what they think is right, they do that. Okay, so this is an interesting character. This is an interesting character. This is almost Dark Knight is Joker is more important for me, Because this is almost like, if you allow me to use the terms of psychoanalysis, then Joker is the unconscious of the Batman. And I like it that they don't say this in the film. I mean, unlike a movie like Fight Club where you get it. So they don't say this. You have to figure this out. But there are enormous hints of this. So I any day would pick that one up. And yeah, anything else?
There's a last question, sir. There is a last question which has come up by Yusuf. Would you like to take it? The
Yes,
last
please,
question.
please.
Yeah.
Please.
If delay in justice becomes casual, then law as a utility, how far a fruitful utility?
How
If delay,
far?
a fruitful utility. So he's asking you about the utilitarian concept, that how is law a utility then? If delay in
No,
justice
but what was the first part? If delay in justice, if delay becomes
justice becomes casual,
okay.
yeah, then law as a utility, how far is a fruitful utility?
Yeah, I mean, true. That's true. I mean, but it's in that sense, you can say true that both utility and the idea of justness is compromised because of delays. Yeah. But I mean, I want to think about it. I mean, what is like, I'll say, because we don't have time, so I'll say some very quick points on here. I mean, see, a lot I have written some time back. I mean, my heart goes out on the fact that delay is something because of which ordinary people hate the legal system. Okay, they don't want to go to the legal system because anybody will tell them that, okay, forget about it. It is insane because you will go nowhere. Okay, but I want to actually understand this in a more complicated fashion, the idea of a delay beyond just this very basic thing that, yeah, it takes a lot of time. Because my point is that delay is not just the way our judges and our professors of law think, that okay, delay is like, people are not deciding cases, let's have fast track courts, let's have this and blah blah blah. I sometimes have started feeling that delay is a part of the technique of law. So I mean, as a lawyer's technique, okay, Basit and Kritika were talking about practicing law. So it's a part of a practicing lawyer's technique to kind of procrastinate a case. Okay. So I mean, I'm not answering this question, but I am more interested in the unknown part of the delay. Like, delay in legal system has become such a common topic that we are almost not have stopped thinking about. Like, we have just prescriptions to give, which is required. I mean, any day required. But I think it's a more, it's a deeper malaise than just as we are seeing that cases are not decided, which is true. I mean, which is true. But it's a deeper malaise. I mean, of not being able to decide a certain kind of cases, of a certain kind of people, of a certain kind of you know, dispensation. So yeah, but so I mean, I've in a way not answered that question.
Okay, anyway, sir, thank you so much for sparing your time. For all the students who,
I can hear a kid screaming at your place, and you should immediately give all attention. Okay.
yes, yes.
So,
I think
yeah.
he's just woken up. He's just woken up and he's trying to find.
Great, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
immediately.
So,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, sir, for sparing time and enlightening
And
the
thank
students.
you, actually, thank you. Please write to me, because I mean, I'm so glad that, you know, some of the old
Yeah,
friends, our fellow colleagues are also there. And
yeah.
please feel
I'll
free
be
to
sharing
write.
your email ID via follow-up email, which we send to all the students. We'll be
Yeah.
sending this all, and you may be receiving via your email all the other questions also, because there were many repeat
Thank
questions
you.
also. The students can go ahead and email the same day. And that books
Yeah.
question is something you owe it to our entire audience.
Sorry?
The question on books, I think you owe it to the entire audience today, because I think
Absolutely,
if one
absolutely.
person
And since we
asks
are talking a
very
lot on, like my last comment actually, since we are talking a lot on films and it's such an erudite audience, I want people to watch this movie called Thappad, okay, and compare this movie with another film which has come called The Marriage Story, you know, The Marriage Story, okay. And I think we are in for some big surprises, which are the way people are reading both the films in the mainstream media is extremely naive and problematic. But okay. Thank you. Yeah, I owe it.
Let's
I
not get
owe
into it.
Yeah.
Great, sir. Thank you to the audience. Thank you, sir. And let's meet, as in the webinars will keep on, happening. You can again attend most of them which we are, conducting. Even the Vice Chancellor will be here on the next webinar is by him. He'll be inviting more dignitaries. And one of those great webinars which is happening is where we are going to have an ACT chairman, going to have many chairmen, and all of them are going to decide about, what is the future of education in this COVID times. Anyway, thank you, and good night to each one of you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.